What would you say, I guess, is the overall sentiment right now around AR, VR? It's gone through a couple of cycles here now. What's the current sentiment?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think broadly speaking, it's upbeat. Um, there have been some hiccups along the way, to be sure. I think that um, there's going to be an integration of AI and XR, and I think the XR companies are kind of seeing AI come along, and they're maybe a little bit jealous, but honestly, I think there's some truth to the fact that they're saying that AI needs XR more than it currently realizes. And what I mean by that is when the machines, the AI bots, autonomous agents, even robots begin to actually intersect our world, those computers are going to need to understand our world through computer vision. And the way
Hmm.
they're going to do that is through XR. In other words, the XR software and services and hardware are going to be the interface between those agents and what people actually do. And I think there's some truth to that, that over time, these giant data sets, these machine learning data sets, are going to move from text. Now they're doing video stuff and they'll get good at that. But when they actually start intersecting the lives of individuals, including with, Meta Ray Bans and things like this, they're going to start looking at the world through our eyes. They're going to understand our context, and they're going to hopefully add value rather than do, negative dystopian things, although that's also possible. So there are some, concerns about that, that were discussed. But at the end of the day, the way that these AI entities, the coming singularity of AI, is going to understand our world and perhaps take control of our world is going to be done through XR, right? Because they're going to need all to crunch all that data to begin to understand human context. And I think there's some truth to that. And so they made a case. A lot of companies made a case that AI needs XR in order to get where it wants to go over the next 5-10 years.
So then maybe you can dumb it down for a little for me. In an enterprise use, when would XR affect my day to day?
I think it depends on the enterprise you're talking about in the use case. So the presentation I did was around Apple Vision Pro versus Quest 3 and 3S in the enterprise. What are people doing with it in enterprises? There's some design work being done, so 3D design, pulling in your CAD files and kind of making it simpler for people to collaborate around them remotely or perhaps even in the same room to kind of, double check your design work. And Apple Vision Pro was a little bit stronger there. MetaQuest is more often used for training. So one of the use cases, both in my talk that we saw in the survey data, the enterprise survey data that we did, and also in some of the talks at AWE, were around how enterprises are using those headsets to not be as good as in-person training, but save a ton of money and time compared to flying people in, using the actual machines, sometimes which cost millions of dollars, right? To have these industrial machines. Now you need to be out of service with them in order to train people on those physical things. If you can get 80% of the way there at, I'm throwing this out there, 20-30% of the cost, right? By letting people do it remotely and train on these, objects. And sometimes they will send a little replica. And this is when it needs to be attached to a TV rather than a Quest headset. And Quest was more often used for training. But basically, like joysticks you might use for a video game or whatever, they will take down some of the machines that you go up and cut trees with or whatever, and they've got their own particular layout. If you plug those into a computer and then those go to a Quest headset, you can replicate that physical that physical UI, so that they will do the knobs and levers on this thing, the actual piece of equipment. So they'll feel it in their hands. Maybe they'll do rumble, maybe they'll not, whatever it is. But again, if you can send that out in a box and then you can send the headset in a box, you could train people anywhere in the world, anytime. And especially when you think about bringing in AI, you could then have them talk not to a live agent, although that's certainly possible, or a live, a teacher, whatever it may
Hmm.
be. Pretty soon, those agents will be trained up on that content. So 24/7, perhaps even in a box, right? You could load it onto a computer, so you don't even need an internet connection anymore. You, while they're doing it, they can see what's wrong. They can ask questions over using their voice and get natural language answers back. So you get basically a virtual assistant, a virtual TI. So those were some of the things that enterprises are doing today. There are some other things, but those are the highlights that I think people are already experiencing by the millions in the enterprises that they work in.
I love it. And I feel like, I feel like it was almost 12 years ago now. I remember like one of the original HoloLenses adverts was like a plumber looking at a bunch of pipes and it was kind of showing him like what
Yep.
they need to do. I'm just like, this is such a cool way to learn. And I think especially with the younger generations, being able to feel like you're hands on and really like it would be fun, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in blue collar jobs, whether it be fixing ACs or right or
Absolutely.
electrical, right? And I think
Yep.
learning with this stuff is going to be such a great way of doing, it, especially when you start factoring in. And I know it's not the same, but like there's short attention spans. You can break it into short clips and
Yep.
short things. It's just like this is really a great future way to learn. It's just you got to get over that price point to get in.
But it's so much less. The point is that it's not going to be as good as in person. The point is that it's cheaper and faster, right? So it may be only half as good, but the retention is still, pretty good in most cases. That doing hands on is much better than reading it in a book or watching a video of someone else doing it.
So let's talk games. I've learned that I don't have a way to share my screen. So what I have right now is it's a dancing game.
Okay, so that one, I think that might have won. I think that might have won an Augie Award. I could be wrong on that, which is like the Augmented Reality Award, whatever.
And
You
it's
know, and then
fascinating. I think dance is. Yeah, I remember when VR HR first or the VR XR first came out, and even before that, right? We can go back to Just Dance and the other dancing game that was huge on the Connect, and
whoops, sorry.
then
Yeah,
dancing just became huge. And it's about time I feel like it came up on VR, right? And seeing it is just like, all right, this is cool.
yeah,
How did it look?
yeah. Trip the Light was dancing with a virtual partner. And I believe you're right. They do trackers on the hands, one on the head, I think two on the ankles. Um, and so you do dance around your physical location. Uh, I'm not sure if you lead or if you follow, but I assume you're going to have to lead if you're the person. But they have a bunch of different dances, tango and whatever. So they've got a variety of actual dance steps you can do with this virtual partner. And they had, physical dancers on site that were really hyping up the game. So it probably looks better on video than most of the other ones I got. But it was pretty cool. They were good dancers. And yeah, I enjoyed watching it. So, I can't say I'm a particularly good dancer, but it looked like fun. You could definitely work up a sweat. People were, checking out both the, instructive part of it and just having fun or, again, um, basically a workout angle to it. And so, yeah, I thought it looked interesting and good. And it is going full body. So that's unusual that you would need like that sort of level of precision. And what they do is they ghost it. I believe there's a part in the video where they're showing you where you need to go next. And then you've got to copy it with your body, go left, right, move your step, whatever it is. And so they do, again, it's, you can think of it as the learning stuff we talked about earlier, where it's really muscle memory and they're kind of taking you through a virtual pose you need to hit at a certain point of time.
I'm curious, and maybe this is research I need to do on myself. But how many games are kind of cross-platform? And when I say that, I just mean VR and desktop.
Yeah, one of the other ones I looked at, yeah, so one is Elsewhere Electric, but let me talk about Horizon Worlds. So this I didn't give you a video of, but Horizon Worlds is, from Meta, right? It's their attempt at the metaverse that people made a lot of fun of a couple years ago, but it's getting better. It's their version of Roblox, if you will, or UEFN, but for XR. So they want creators to come in, create the content, drive a lot of traffic, and their vision is that this is going to become XR's, primary creator-driven economy platform, whatever you want to call it. So they had a session there at AWE about it, where I think it was Jason Rubin, who was at Sony. He's a pretty serious game guy, well respected. He's in charge of the content. And Sonia Haskins, who was a player-driven podcast guest not that long ago. It was a talk between her and Jason Rubin talking about where Horizon Worlds wants to go. But the gist is that they're they're ramping up their tools, and the idea is that it will be a very social platform. As a matter of fact, social is at the base layer of Horizon Worlds, and so that is cross-platform, right? Horizon Worlds is accessible on mobile devices and PCs and in the Quest headset. And their big push is that by allowing it on mobile and PC and in the headset, it's like free marketing that, hey, you can go do this also in XR, right? So it becomes an avenue by which people notice other people in XR doing it, and they think, I've got to get this to get the full experience, whatever it is. So that's kind of a free marketing bridge, if you will, that Meta wants to cross, and also increase the revenue. Because if the pie is mostly growing on mobile or PC, as long as Meta's generating the money, what do they care? They don't care, and the creators don't care either. So that's good for everybody. So that cross-platform bridge is getting a lot stronger. In
Yeah.
terms of another game that did it, was Elsewhere Electric. So that is one of the videos that I uploaded there. Um, if you know Job Simulator from Alchemy Labs, it was like a classic, very popular initial XR game where you simulate playing somebody doing a role. It would look like a combination of that and Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, which is and also a game where in this case you're on a mobile device and you see certain symbols as like a puzzle game where the symbols are a little bit like vague as to what they are, and then the person in the headset also sees a bunch of symbols, and you need to talk to each other. One person on a mobile screen who's supposed to be outside in a van, the person in the VR headset down there trying to solve these puzzles before they die, in effect. So it's a combination of Job Simulator and Keep Talking Nobody Explodes. So it's a co-op, like a couch co-op game across mobile and XR. And that one also stuck out to me as kind of a cool concept that just might fly.
What are the top three takeaways you would say you have from AWE this year?
Yeah, that's a great question. Probably hard to narrow down. Something that was interesting to me is that the big mapping companies, so Google and Apple and Niantic Spatial, and now another one called Aukey Labs, which is out of Hong Kong, but they seem to be mostly Swedish people. Um, there's like 7 companies that have the maps, and now they're all rushing to be to build very accurate 3D maps of parts of the world, right? So Snap did a deal with Niantic Spatial to use the Snap glasses and Niantic Spatial's map of the world, especially public spaces, to start doing interactive things there. And creators from Snap are going to start using, in effect, the Pokemon Go Niantic Spatial platform to start doing their stuff in these social spaces. But Apple's working on the same thing. Again, Google's working on the same thing. The Aukey Labs guy is a little bit different in that they're saying that enterprises, if you walk into Walmart, they're not going to they will actually kick you out if you start filming it and try to map their location in store. In other words, it's considered very proprietary data, and that things like Niantic Spatial are not going to be dealing with that. That the companies over time, enterprises with physical locations, are going to want to control the information about their own store. They consider it sometimes very sensitive data. So Aukey Labs has this platform by which all the data is kept local, never goes to the cloud, and they've got a kind of Ethereum based network which will work in the background. So it's based on blockchain where the enterprises control that data and do a handoff and get paid or sometimes pay other people to give access to that business environment. So anyway, one of the big takeaways I think is that there's multiple maps of the physical world being created by multiple companies that are going to try to monetize how, again, AI and XR, physical world, and robots, right? So Aukey Labs was talking about eventually when a robot walks into the store to buy medicine or whatever, it's going to come from an outside space, maybe using Niantic Spatial. But once they get into the drugstore, they're going to need to access that local map of the store to go find your cold medicine. And there'll be a financial transaction that happens there, and they'll promise to not record the store while they're doing it. And then they'll do cashless thing and they'll go back home. That's much further down the line, but it's interesting to think about how robots and AI and XR are going to come together in these kind of mapping environments. So that was one big takeaway of mine. So Vitcher, they're out of China, but if you know the X-Real glasses, which a lot of gamers use now to show like in almost I don't know, it's probably 2K screen or whatever it is, but it's basically if you have a Steam Deck or some other device, you can put it on your lap and it will show you the screen, at a comfortable viewing point. Sit back on your couch and do it or whatever. So you connect the the glasses that don't look too different from this to the actual gaming device, and it will show you it in big screen and low latency. And a lot of people are doing that for Xreal. But Vitcher is also there. They made a strong case that they're kind of ahead of Xreal in some senses to do the same thing. And I got a demo of that, and they using AI to give a slight 3D effect. So when you're even if you're looking at a website or whatever, it'll have things pop a little bit in 3D. So when you look side to side, you will get a little bit of 3D effect. Or if you looked at a video or a still photo, it will use AI to create a slight 3D effect of your photo, move certain things into the foreground, move things into the background to give you a slight 3D effect, which was kind of cool. It works in video games. The new Vitcher headset is compatible with Switch 2 already, so they're kind of gunning for Xreal in that front to kind of go after gamers that want to use it for Switch 2 or whatever. And so I was kind of impressed with their with their AR glasses. To be clear, right now it's just a flat screen, so you can't do 3D objects in them. It's bird bath technology. That's kind of how it works. That'll do flat screens really well, and they can look really good. So that's what it's doing. And I think their next gen glasses will let you move it to a certain spot. So right now it's like in front of your face the whole time, no matter what you do. But what they're going to have is the ability to lock it to the location of where you're at, so that if somebody's talking to you over here, you can turn your head and talk to them, and you're going to see them through kind of tinted glasses. And then when you go back, just like your normal big screen, it will be there right where you have it, and you can keep playing. So I think that is an important next step to understand your physical context, let you put it like a virtual screen in the environment. And so those are coming to from both Vitcher and Xreal. So I think those are something to look out for.
I feel like that was one of the selling points on the Vision Pro, right? That you had the ability to like pin things in
Yeah,
different places. It'd be
exactly.
interesting to see if a glass. I had no idea this technology even existed. I need to go
Yeah.
look it up now because my son's starting to play Fortnite with me, but he plays on the Switch.
Okay.
So I was like, yeah, this could be interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So those are good for that use case. So they don't do more than flat, although again, there's this slight 3D effect coming with the Vitcher glasses, which
Mhm.
maybe they'll come to more glasses than that.